Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
Hey, Hare Krishna. Welcome this morning to Srimad Bhagavatam class
Hare Krishna.
and attentive japa. Thank you all so much for joining. And today we are talking about the material world as the great forest of enjoyment. After all, that's what we're doing here, isn't it? We're all trying to enjoy, and we get plenty of encouragement from the media, from the TV, and even families. They support us. Say go and have some fun. It's your age, this and that. There's so many, everything is just bombarded for enjoying the senses. So when King Parikshit asked Shukadeva Goswami about the direct meaning of the material forest, Shukadeva Goswami replied as follows. So let's do a quick prayer first of all. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Shukadeva Goswami replied, my dear king, a man belonging to the mercantile community is always interested in earning money. Sometimes he enters the forest to acquire some cheap commodities like wood and earth and sell them in the city at good prices. Similarly, the conditioned soul, so this is compared to the conditioned soul, being greedy, enters this material world for some material profit. Gradually, he enters the deepest part of the forest, not really knowing how to get out. Having entered the material world, the pure soul becomes conditioned by the material atmosphere, which is created by the external energy under the control of Lord Vishnu. Thus, the living entity comes under the control of the external energy, Devi Maya. So this is our situation. We enter this world, then we get stuck in it and we don't know how to get out. And there's further comparisons that in the forest of material existence, the uncontrolled senses are like plunderers. So you're in a forest, you get robbed by plunderers. The conditioned soul may earn some money for the advancement of Krishna consciousness. So it's recommended that this is what your money is actually for when you're working. Is for advancing in Krishna consciousness. Everything we do is meant to be for advancing Krishna consciousness, although we don't do it, but that's what it's meant for. But unfortunately, the uncontrolled senses plunder his money through sense gratification. So that money is taken away. That should be used for Krishna, is taken away by the senses. So they're called plunderers. The senses are plunderers because they make one spend his money unnecessarily for seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, hearing, desiring, and willing. In this way, the conditioned soul is obliged to gratify his senses, and thus all his money is spent. This money is actually acquired for the execution of religious principles, but is taken away by the plundering senses. I mean, after all, it is Kali Yuga, and religious principles are not that prevalent, in this yuga. Everything belongs to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but due to our perverted mind and senses, we plunder the property of the Lord and engage in satisfying our senses. The jackals and tigers in the forest of our family members. And the jackals and tigers in the forest are our family members. So family members are compared to jackals and tigers. And the herbs and creepers are our material desires. The mountain cave is our happy home. So, it's imagining that you are in the forest and the jackals and tigers is our family. The herbs and creepers are our material desires. And the home is compared to the mountain cave. And the mosquitoes and serpents are our enemies that we have. They are compared to the mosquitoes and serpents. The rats, beasts, and vultures are different types of thieves who take away our possessions. So the thieves who rob us are compared to rats, beasts, and vultures. The cricket is the harsh words spoken by our enemy. So the noise that you hear from the cricket is like in where we live, is the harsh words spoken by our enemy during our absence. The owl is a person who directly insults us. So some amazing comparisons here made in Srimad Bhagavatam. And the impious trees are impious men. The waterless river represents atheists who give us trouble in this world and the next. The meat-eating demons are the government officials, and the pricking thorns are the impediments of material life. The lion is the wheel of time who devours us sooner or later, isn't it? Time, that's what time is all about, devouring. The swans are the perfect Brahmins, and the monkeys are the extravagant Shudras engaged in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. The trees of the monkeys are our households. The elephant is ultimate death. These are some of the constitutions of material existence. These are the comparisons made between the forest and the material life. Now, thing is, it's repeatedly said in different shastras that there is no pleasure in this material world or this great forest of enjoyment. There actually is no pleasure. We imagine that there is, but there is no pleasure. Furthermore, even if we agree to live without pleasure, so okay, now we agreed that there is no pleasure, and so we'll live without pleasure. We're still not allowed to do so. In Bhagavad-Gita, Lord Krishna says that the material world is not only full of miseries, dukkhalam, but also temporary ashvashvatam. Ashvashvatam, ashvatam, ashvashvatam, difficult word. So even if we want to live here and amid miseries, material nature will not allow us to do so. So even if we don't want to enjoy, material life still be temporary. We still have to leave and then take it on another body. It will oblige us to change bodies and enter another atmosphere full of miserable conditions. So it doesn't get much better according to this. So living entity is so absorbed in the thought of maintaining body and soul together that he forgets his original relationship with Krishna and seeks only the bodily comforts. Thus, material activities are the conditioned soul's only engagement. Not knowing the aim of life, the materialist perpetually wanders in material existence, struggling to get the necessities of life. Not understanding the aim of life, even though he acquires sufficient necessities, he manufactures artificial necessities. So we have needs and wants, We have sufficient things, but we create new desires, new things that we need, and thus becomes more and more entangled. He creates a mental situation whereby he needs greater and greater comforts. The materialist doesn't know the secret of nature's ways, as confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita 3.7. Prakrita kriyamanani guni karmani sarvashaha ankara vimudatma kartham iti manyate. The bewildered spiritual soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actually carried out by nature. Due to lusty desire, the living entity creates a certain mental situation whereby he wants to enjoy this material world. He thus becomes entangled, enters different bodies, and suffers in them. So this is explained in Bhagavad Gita, as we just said earlier. So, and this is in 3.27 shloka. Lord Krishna explains exactly that thing. So then, family life. So in this world, family life is exactly like a blazing fire in the forest. There is not the least happiness, and gradually one becomes more and more implicated in unhappiness. I mean, we might say, of course, there is a lot of happiness in family. You know, children give us happiness. When the husband and wife are getting on, then they give each other happiness. And, you know, it's only temporary, but they give each other happiness. They say husband and wife, they're either fighting or they're loving each other. There's no in between. So, but there is some happiness. But so in household life, there is nothing favorable for perpetual happiness. Being implicated in home life, the conditioned soul is burnt by the fire of lamentation. Sometimes he condemns himself as being very unfortunate, and sometimes he claims that he suffers because he performed no pious activities in his previous life. So, I mean, as explained that there is some happiness in family life, but it's also explained in Bhagavad Gita that whatever makes us happy will also be the cause of our misery as well. This is the problem. If children are giving us a lot of happiness, when they leave us, when the daughter gets married, or they go to university, when they leave us, then life changes, isn't it? They might get a job somewhere else. They get married, son gets married, might move out, and then we get miserable. So the more attached we were to the son or daughter, the more miserable we become because we've lost that that enjoyment, that happiness we were getting from them. So this is another reason why family life is not is not all happiness. It creates sadness as well. So in the Guru Ashtika, Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur sang Samsara Dava Nalalita Loka Tranyaya Karuna Gana Ganatma. So life in this material world is exactly like a blazing forest fire. No one goes to set fire to the forest, yet the fire takes place. Similarly, everyone wants to be happy in the material world, but the miserable conditions of material life simply increase. Sometimes a person caught in the blazing fire of material existence condemns himself, but due to his bodily conception, he cannot get out of the entanglement, and thus he suffers more and more. So sometimes the conditioned soul imagines that his father or grandfather has again come in the form of his son or grandson. In this way, he feels the happiness one sometimes feels in a dream, and the conditioned soul sometimes takes pleasure in such mental concoctions. So, due to the ignorance of the real existence of the Lord, the conditioned soul imagines many things influenced by fruitive activity. He comes together with his relatives, father, son, and grandfathers, exactly as straws gather together in a moving stream. So just like straws, they come together in the water, and then a wave comes, and then they split again, and then they might meet at some point again. So this is how family life is. We all meet, and then we all separate. And then we meet maybe the same straws or other straws, and then we split again. It's like time is like in waves. It's getting together and then departing, getting together. Just it's cyclic motion. He comes together with relatives, fathers, sons, grandfathers, exactly as straws. And in a moment, the straws are thrown everywhere and they lose contact. In conditioned life, the living entity is temporarily with many of the conditioned souls as they get gathered together as family members, and the material affection is so strong that even after a father or grandfather passes away, one takes pleasure in thinking that they return to the family in different forms. So this shows has returned again. Sometimes this may happen, but in any case, the conditioned soul likes to take pleasure in such concocted thoughts. I mean, we do that. We compare the little ones. So it's yeah, I behave just like my grandmother, or behaves like my granddad. He looks like my granddad. I always got the habits of my granddad. We all do that, and we want our ancestors to return to us. So it's also mentioned that there are many social functions for keeping a prestigious position in society. In different countries and societies, there are various festivals and rituals. In India, the father is supposed to get his children married. When he does so, his responsibility to the family is complete. Arranging marriage is very difficult, especially these days. And at the present moment, no one can perform the proper ritual of sacrifice anyway, nor can anyone afford to pay for the marriage ceremony of sons and daughters. Therefore, householders are very much distressed when they are confronted by these social duties. It is though they were pierced by thorns and hurt by pebbles. So material attachment is so strong that despite the suffering, one cannot give it up. So Prahlad Maharaj recommends Hitavatma Patam Graham and Kupam Vanam Gato Yadarim Ashri Yata. So the so-called comfortable family position is compared to a dark well, right, Kupam. So in a field, so if one falls in a dark well covered by grass, his life is lost, despite his cry for rescue. So highly advanced speechlists therefore recommend that one should not enter the Grihastha ashram. It is better to prepare oneself in brahmachari ashram for austerities and remain a pure brahmachari throughout one's life, so that one will not feel the piercing thorns of material life in Grihastha ashram. In the Grihastha ashram, one has to accept invitations from friends and relatives and perform ritualistic ceremonies. By so doing, one becomes captivated by such things, although he may not have sufficient resources to continue them. To maintain the Grihastha lifestyle, one has to work very hard to acquire money. Thus, one is implicated in material life, and thus he suffers the thorn pricks. So, this is how family life is explained in this forest of material life. The happiness of family life is compared to a drop of water in the desert also. No one can be happy in family life. According to the Vedic civilization, one cannot give up the responsibilities of family life, but today everyone is giving up family life by divorce. This is due to the miserable condition experienced in the family. Sometimes, due to misery, one becomes very hardened toward his affectionate sons, daughters, and wife. This is but part of the blazing fire of the forest of material life. Not knowing the value karmis create situation whereby they suffer in this life and the next. Unfortunately, karmis are very attached to material sense gratification, and they cannot appreciate the miserable condition of material life, neither in this life nor in the next. So, not great things are said about family life in Srimad Bhagavatam. But so, what is the solution? What is the solution? What kind of? I mean, there has to be. If we are to continue, you know, giving birth to say devotees, to increase civilized to population, the people have to get married. So Grihastha life is important, and then somebody has to support the brahmacharis and the sannyasis as well. So it is important that there is some Grihastha life. So it's mentioned that when the living entity is lost in the forest of material world, in the struggle for existence, His first business is to find a bona fide guru who's always engaged at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is the sign. There's a bona fide guru. After all, if he is at all eager to be relieved of the struggle for existence, he must find a bona fide guru and take instructions at his lotus feet. In this way, he can get out of that struggle. So, excuse me, no one can get out of the struggle for existence, which is full of miseries, without accepting a pure devotee of the Lord. The material attempt changes from one position to another, and no one actually gains relief from the struggle for existence. The only resort is the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master, and through him, the lotus feet of the Lord. One should control the mind and the five knowledge acquiring senses by a definite process. One should practice a little austerity and not spend money on anything other than the regulative life of devotional service. So, even if you're Gresta, you can regulate your life. So, my personal opinion is that Gresta life is important. Krishna has divided our life, the term we spend on this planet, into four divisions. So, you have the brahmachari, then you have the gresta, and then vanaprastha and sannyas. That's like, although you don't actually go to the forest, but you live that kind of life, being detached. So the senses demand that one sees beautiful things. Therefore, money should be spent for decorating the deity in the temple. Similarly, the tongue has to have taste good food. So that's the position of the tongue. So it has to taste good food, which should be bought and offered to the deity. So we take prasad. So we can divert the senses gratification. The nose can be utilized in smelling the flowers offered to the deity, and the hearing can be utilized by listening to the vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra. In this way, the senses can be regulated and utilized to advance Krishna consciousness. One should understand that the wealth and opportunity one gets in the material world should not be squandered in sense gratification. They are meant for advancement of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, the Vedas enjoin that one should awaken to spiritual consciousness and utilize his activities to attain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord himself says in Bhagavad-Gita, Yat karoshi, yat ashnasi, yat juhoshi, tadasi, yat tapayasi kunteya, tat prishva mad arpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you perform, should be done as an offering to me. And this is how we have to direct our life, that everything we do, everything we give away, everything we offer, all the austerities, they should all be done for Lord Krishna, because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The results of one's activity should be utilized for not for sense gratification, but for the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord gives all information in Bhagavad Gita about the aim of life, and at the end of Bhagavad Gita, he demands surrender onto him. People don't, so that's the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, that you surrender to the Lord. People don't generally like this demand, but one who cultivates spiritual knowledge for many births eventually surrenders onto the lotus feet of the Lord. Bahnam Janmanamante Gyanvanvam Praptaite Vasudeva Sarvati Samatma Satulabha. So unless one's desires are completely transferred to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the desire for family life continues even after one has taken sannyas, he says. So, it's all about the consciousness, isn't it? You can take sannyas, but if your desires are still material, then it's no point. Sometimes in a society, ISKCON, a person out of sentiment may take sannyas, but because his desires are not burnt completely, he again takes to family life, even at the risk of losing his prestige and disgracing his good name. These strong desires can be burnt out completely when one fully engages in the service of the Lord in devotional service. So that's the solution, that you engage. It can be a gresta, but you don't just live the life of a gresta. You have responsibilities and you consider them as responsibilities, but your attention, your consciousness should be all for Krishna and Krishna's service. And this is what we are taught in our Srila Prabhupada's movement, and it's all explained here, that our priority is not Grihastha ashram. Our priority is to serve Lord Krishna, although we can be in the Grihastha ashram, but we should be attached to Krishna rather than other things that give us sense gratification, because they will only bring us misery end of the day. So thank you all so much. Just like to quickly welcome you all. Swishi Mataji, Rukmini Mataji, Jai Prabhu, Jai Mataji, Madhav Shamsundar Prabhu, Partha Prabhu, Parveen Mataji, Prem Prakash Prabhu, Rita Mataji, Sushil Prabhu. And iPhone Prabhu or Mataji, please reveal yourself. I think it's Natai Charan Prabhu, but who is iPhone? Okay, wants to remain anonymous, that's fine. Okay. Main thing is that you're listening and you're taking advantage of this class. To me, that is the priority. So, doesn't matter what name you come under, as long as you're benefiting from this meeting, from our discussions, that's the main thing. Okay, now, so let's have a little discussion. Who would like to start? Let's start with Jai Prabhu. Jai Prabhu, Hari Hari Bol.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yes, so this forest is a reflection of the material world. Like many aspects of human behavior are described in here, and a lot of animals, I think, which are in the forest, I assume, are used to illustrate several points. The material world is described as a dangerous place, and the more we try to enjoy it, the greater the misery it brings. So no one can ever be really happy in the material world, and no one can escape the illusionary energy of the Lord. The only way to do that is through devotional practice in Krishna consciousness, and I think instead associating with a devotee. So I think first he starts off by mentioning the deeper one goes into the forest, the more difficult it is to get out of it. So and it's simply like that. The more we identify with the body, then repeated births and deaths. I mean, it's quite a few themes mentioned here, but I think the two main ones are like family life and sensual gratification. So with regard to family life, the more you try to enjoy, the more there's more, the greater there's attachment to material wealth and positions, and get more involved in fruitive activities. And with regard to sense enjoyment, due to ignorance, we chase after sense objects, and this only leads to miseries. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Ravi. Is that Jay Mataji? Haribol? Okay.
Haribol. Sorry, I was unmuting. Okay. So what I understood and what I'm taking away from this class is, though we are in our family life with all the attachments, that is not permanent. So we need to understand that, like Ashashvitam, we said. So nothing is permanent in this life, even the Grihastha life, even if we are involved and even if we are happy, we have to understand that is not the eternal happiness. So even being happy within the life, though it is compared to so many, like, a negative side of family, I know many families are happy, which is a positive side of it. But still, only thing to remind ourselves is it's not permanent. So this life is not permanent. And however happy or unhappy you are, ultimate is the eternal happiness. And that we will get only by surrendering ourselves to the lotus feet of a guru or the ultimate Lord Krishna. So whatever it is compared, I think that is aside, but we have to understand the ultimate and eternal happiness is what we are here for, to achieve that, because as a human being, that is the only thing possible by human beings and not any other living being on this earth. So we are highly privileged to have that understanding and just remind ourselves to go back to that eternal happiness. So yeah, it has been compared to dark well and one drop in the ocean and all that thing. They are a little bit scary to hear and gives a negative vibration, but I think keeping that aside, just focus on achieving the eternal happiness of eternal bliss. Horrible.
But I was going to say that when you read something like this, it can, somebody say in the who's near marriage age or is a child reads this, they might get put off by
Yes.
getting married. What do you think?
Yes, that is true. That is what. So there is a lot of all negative words used within the forest as well.
Yeah.
But yes, looking at the brighter side, it's not like that. We might still advocate saying it's not like that, because this is our karma. Like in Bhagavad-Gita, we are given a birth to karma yoga, to finish that karma yoga, because we are here to burn our karmas. The first purpose of our life is burning our karmas and reaching the Godhead. So only way to burn our karmas is taking a human birth or life on this earth. So we cannot escape from karma. Like Lord Krishna said to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, you cannot escape from your karma. So Grihastha ashram is something that you have to get into. You can't escape. Seeing all these negative words or however scary these words are, take it as a challenge. That is what I could say to the youngsters. Like even in their career, they don't run away from their career or education. They take it as challenge and try to get succeed within whatever they are trying to pursue. So the same way, this is about the journey to reach God. So to reach God, you have to burn your karma. So you can't escape from Grihasthashram. That is what I would say to youngsters.
Yes, very, very good, Mataji, very good. So you're right. I think when you read or hear something like this, obviously guest ashram is made by Lord Krishna. He's divided the ashram into four, and they're all important. I think the idea is like you mentioned, that we read this, all this negative thing, it just makes us mindful. It makes us mindful that be careful of the traps.
Yeah.
The landmines are there or something. Yeah, so at least we can be careful that we can fall into this trap. Be very careful, like you say, with the well, hidden well. So yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. That's wonderfully explained.
Haribol.
Partha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I mean, nice points, Prabhu. Like when you are reading this about the family, even I felt like it's not that complicated, but again, it is the place where really we get into sense gratification.
Yeah.
Very easily, like when you're really happy, that is where you'll definitely forget about the Lord.
Yeah.
But when we are getting that injections in the life, that is where we tend to remember the Lord again.
Yes.
That is why I think like Prabhupada laid on a very nice process of doing like Bhakti Riksha, Sunday Sangha, and having the chanting, like all whole family sitting together and doing the chanting.
Yeah, yeah.
Reading the scriptures or listen to the classes of senior devotees together. So this really helps because I mean normally I think like the discussions come because the views are really different between the wife and husband in a family. But when you read to the scriptures in these classes, we all actually come to the same point. So we all working towards the Lord. So we don't have any debate in that point at least. So that is why like the Prabhupada introduction of this Bhakti Rusha sitting together and chanting, these are really helpful. So I think that is why it is stress mode here about the family, because once you are in family, you tend to get as enjoyment, and within the enjoyment you will forget about the Lord.
Yes.
So that is one nice point.
You got
And
Correct.
yeah, Prabhu. And when we are doing this Bhagavatam class with Vrindavani Mataji, like when we heard about like Karda Muni and Dehuti thing, it's also mentioned, it's also discussed that when you are actually selecting your husband or a wife, there are certain key points which you need to discuss. So normally we don't discuss about spiritual life when we are getting married. When we are given a chance to discuss with your would be, but actually if you are real, when you align your life towards spiritual, when you are getting married, these were young people, now we are already married, so they can actually discuss about the spiritual life as well, like what are the plans in future for their spiritual life, what they want. So both of them actually can align their goals toward the spiritual life and be very happy in the family, and then bring their kids as well in the nice spiritual way. So
Yeah.
when we're reading Bhagavatam, everything is there, including our like how to choose a bridegroom, how to choose a bride, everything is there. Very nice. That's all, Prabhu.
Thank you. Yeah, very, very good points. So we are the husband wife when they get married. I mean, this is how I guess our the elders decide. You know, we have an arranged marriage. The elders decide that if the boy and the girl are compatible, I think they have to be the same in the same mode. You know, if the boy is in the mode of goodness or the girl is mode of goodness, then they both should be in the mode of goodness, or they should be both in the mode of passion. That's the only way they're going to be together. You know, if one is in the mode of passion, the other one in the mode of goodness, there's incompatibility between the two, because their thinking of life will be different. You know, they're advancing in life. One may become very spiritual, the other one just, you know, he wants to enjoy parties, have fun, make a lot of money. So there be incompatibility. And sometimes you find that the husband, you know, he likes his drink, he's in the pub all the time. And I've seen him in Bhavana, his husband's in the pub and the wife's in the Gurdwara or temple. So this is how they spend their time. But, you know, okay, you know, they're not happy, but, you know, with our, especially with the Indian families or, you know, the Asian families, you know, we tolerate each other. That's one thing we do in the Indian families, we tolerate. Whereas with the, like Prabhupada mentioned about divorce, in the Western society, the toleration level is low. So when they're not compatible, they will just, you know, go apart. They go their own ways, isn't it? So yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's important that there's compatibility between the two. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So Shil Prabhu, you're online. Would like to make any comments?
Hello. Oh, nothing at the moment. Nothing. Just enjoying association.
Thank you. That's fine. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Sarveshi Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Well, everybody explained so nicely everything. So another name for Krishna, or Lord Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is Sat Chit Anand. He's eternal, unlimited, and full of knowledge and bliss. He's Anand, always happy. He's enjoying in Vrindavan, Golok. And we are part and parcel of Krishna. So we like to enjoy as well. That's why people like to enjoy. And Krishna gave us senses to save him and then go back to Godhead to enjoy with him. But we engage our senses in sense gratification and we use it for ourselves, not for Krishna. And it is the cause of one's birth and death. Our senses should be engaged to please Krishna, not to please us. Because he's master of the senses, Rishikesh.
Yeah.
Our ears should be engaged in hearing his pastimes, tongues in chanting the Maha Mantra, eating prasad, mind to remember him, like Krishna said, Manmanabad Bhakto, always think of him. And then nose to smell the flowers, to see leaf, like Maharaj Ambrish, he engaged all his senses in Krishna.
Yeah.
We think that we are enjoying in this material world, but actually we are suffering like in a forest fire, like animals and insects, due to the attachment with families, friends, children, society, house, money. Sometimes there is misunderstanding, like everybody just discussed about husband and wife. There's a sometimes misunderstanding about the money, how you manage the house. You don't agree with each other. So always something. And then when the children, they very nice when they grow up, I mean, you want to be them so nice, they don't listen to you. And then that's mind is suffering in the mind. And then friends, sometimes they deceive you, envy you, and money. When you have money, when you have a lot of money, you worry about money that it will be stolen or somebody will cheat you. And then this argument outside as well, we were going on the road, on the car, anything, somebody, try to upset you. And just to get out of this material forest, we should surrender to Krishna, as you said, worship him with mind, body, and speech, and get out of this forest of fire. It is like a forest fire. And then we should go back to Godhead. That's what Krishna gives. We are born, some people say, we're born here to enjoy ourselves. We don't born to enjoy ourselves. Krishna gives us another chance for us to go back to Godhead. That's why you should do it instead of enjoying in this forest of fire. Hare Krishna.
Jai, thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, you're absolutely right. Now, I mean, the point is, Gresta life is, there's a lot of negative points about Gresta life, but Srila Prabhupada has taught us very nicely. He has taught us that we can use everything, even the Rolls Royce he had, we can use everything in Krishna's service. So we can use this Gresta life in Krishna's service, isn't it? So the husband and wife, they help each other to serve Lord Krishna. We serve together, it makes it more sweeter, and we help each other. I mean, it makes life a little bit easier when serving. For one person to serve alone can be a task. Is he going to do deity service? Is he going to cook? He's going to clean? We share the tasks, makes it a little bit easier to serve together. And then with regards to money, you earning money, like Mataji mentioned, you have to pay the bills and everything. But that money, instead of too much sense gratification, they use it in Krishna's service. So there you go. Marriage life can be good as well, as long as you use in Krishna's service. And then Srila Prabhupada explained that having children, we have children, we bring in living entities to have children in Krishna consciousness. That bringing children, or this life, marriage life is bringing children who we can make Krishna conscious. And that's our duty. So it's not just by having lots of children and enjoying children, it's by bringing them into this world, the living entities into this world as humans, that we can and help them to become devotees and also go back home. That is our duty. So Gresta life, all this, the money, the children, each other's association, we can use it in Krishna's service, and then it's fantastic. The Gresta life is fantastic as long as you use in Krishna's service. So Prem Prakash Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol Prabhu, Dhanva Pranam.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. So I was Dhanva Pranam Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. I was just thinking, that all this grace life and everything is not false. Basically, in the spiritual world, they exist. Basically, these are just a mirror reflection, and as in mirror, some reality that is missed. Basically, although it's still there, is is a lack of Krishna. And basically, as Vishnu Mataji said, that everything what we do is absolutely fine. And just what we need to add, our life is zero in reflection. So basically, all zeros, nothing, void, everything. All we need to add in front is Krishna. If we give priority to Krishna there, then it become millions basically. So it's not different. So it's basically a training ground for us just to realize, fulfill our duties. Obviously, we'll be having lot many karmas, which we'll have to suffer. Otherwise, whether we are whatever ashram we are in, whether it's a brahmachari ashram, where there is sannyas ashram, if the karmas are there, they will be suffering as well. So one is not completely free from it. Only Krishna can reduce a bit of it. The important thing is that we should take our situation as a training ground to understand how to include Krishna in our life, and whatever we do, we dovetail for Krishna. That's more important. If we had, like you said, that if we have a car, we utilize it to serve devotees, go to temple. I mean, if we can do a better service, and like that, all the other things. If we purchase grocery, we purchase to cook prasadam. So that's dovetailing, and then we have to start calculating how much we are able to dovetail for Krishna. That's our assessment point. And that's what is also important. One point that is also very important is to understand that whatever we are doing, we'll be doing the same thing. We might be doing the same thing in the spiritual world as well. So if we are in Grihastha life, we might be a Grihastha in the spiritual world. We never know. We don't know what, at the moment, we don't know what our identity is. That, but the relation is also there in the spiritual world. So we just can't just say that, oh, we don't want to get into it because it's entanglement. Rather, we should see that it's a training ground. We should understand all emotions, what's coming through, what are responsibilities, and how we actually fulfill it. Because we might be end up doing the same thing in spiritual world. If you're not trained properly, we might not be able to do it properly in the spiritual world. So it's a place for training. We need to understand that. And mistakes happens, no problem. Learn from it, go forward. Try not doing that again. So that's what I will take it from Vijay.
Thank you. Very nicely explained. Thank you so much. We have Praveen Mataji. We'll just make that last. Now we're running out of time. Praveen Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, yeah, very beautiful. So what I take is, we've just read like Nectar of Instruction, and it say Jivera Swarupa Hai Krishna Nitya Dasa. So our constitutional position is as eternal servant of the Lord. So as long as we remember that, we will be happy. And Grihasthashram is, I think it is very, very important, and it's the most beautiful thing, because like again, we've been told that Grihasthas, our responsibility is to help the brahmacharis and sannyasis. And the problem comes when like you're not born in a devotee family, or like one of you is a devotee. And like Partha Prabhu mentioned, so when choosing a partner, so that's how I'm seeing, like for my son or my daughter, I always see, yes, you want to see a person who is going to spiritually support you as well. So, but when children, they're not devotees, they don't understand this concept. Like you said, yeah, they both should be either in goodness or passion. But I think that brings a problem as well, because then there is no chance of them getting into goodness, if they're both passionate. Like my daughter, she was a sort of like following things, and now her mind is completely doctor's head, and oh, you're doing this wrong. And she had a big argument with me about all this. And then I've got to worry that she'll fall for the wrong person now, because if she's becoming passionate. So, but I think Resta is very, very beautiful. Like you are the example, Prabhuji, you and Mataji, when husband and wife are doing it, Krishna in the middle, and this is not our home, this is Krishna's home. Then I think this is the most beautiful life, and living in this material world, we are still so happy, and we can be happy when we are like engaged in devotional service. So for me, I think this is the true happiness. And with the children, with the attachment, so I think we need to change the attachment to affection. And then yeah, I'm working on it.
Very nice. Thank you. Yes, fantastic.
Thank you.
All very, very great points. And I think this discussion has been beautiful, because I certainly have learned so much. It just gives a lot more body to what we're reading, and we get we get to understand what this is all about, and you get a better understanding of what we've been reading. So thank you all so much for joining. Next week we're going to be talking about the praise of the Vedas personified, or the personified Vedas. That's what we'll talk about next week. A beautiful praise by the Vedas in personification and praise to the Lord. So we'll discuss that next Friday. This Sunday we have Gora Nataraj Prabhu from Las Vegas. He's going to talk about balanced life of a devotee. So basically what we're talking about today will be very relevant. This is like a supplementary to what we're discussing today, the balanced life of a devotee. So I think we can get a better understanding by listening to that class on Sunday. Thank you so much. I would like to request Rukuni Mataji to start the first round, please, Mataji, and then Sweshi Mataji, second round. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण